Hey, what's going on, guys? Welcome to my first video in my new budget PC building series that's going to be centered around mostly things that you can find on Amazon, like right now, that you can go pick up and build your own PC at home. These are going to be step-by-step guides, so I hope you enjoy them and that you're going to be able to follow along and have your own gaming PC at home. They are going to be mostly Amazon only for the simple fact that I know not a lot of us have a micro center just down the street from us. And make sure you go get at them in their Instagram comments and probably Twitter, because I know everyone's just badgering the shit out of them to get a store in their local city or just in their state alone. So just go hit them up, bother the shit out of them. Eventually you will get your store, or at least you can hope so, but keep trying. Don't stop. But yeah, in today's video, I'm going to be doing a complete build of a $500 budget gaming PC that you can build right now. It's not going to be all of the newer or relevant parts. Obviously, $500 isn't really a lot to work with, especially when most of our graphics cards are running in like $300 to $400 just for those entry levels. But you can still get through pretty well with a 1650 over here. This is going to be great for 1080p gaming, and you're really not going to be breaking the bank either, and it's going to be a lot better than you'd get from a PlayStation 5 or an Xbox. But yeah, in this video, I'm going to be doing a complete step-by-step guide so that you guys can follow along at home. After the fact, I'll be running a few benchmark tests, and we'll be playing a couple of games at the end just to see how it runs. So before we get into it, make sure you're hitting that subscribe button, the like button, and hit that bell while you're at it, just so you can stay up to date on all the budget PC builds coming out, because I don't want you to miss any of them, because first of all, I need people to watch my videos, and I need you guys to be able to have gaming PCs at home that you might not have already, or you just might not know how to do it. So yeah, without further ado, let's get into this build. Okay, so we're going to be starting with our motherboard. I have everything out right here that we're going to actually need to completely assemble it before we get into start anything with the case. So first up, we're going to start with the CPU. You're going to start by pulling up this retention bracket right here. And we'll get the CPU in there. Alright, so we have our CPU right here. And we are going to be slotting this in. We're going to be looking for this triangle, and we're going to be matching it up with the triangle that's on the board. There we go, and yep, so that's in the right place. And then we're just going to gently come down here and pull down our retention bracket. And there we go. So our CPU should be nice and sturdy in there. Make sure you don't bend your pins. Alright, so next up we're going to get our RAM installed. Alrighty, so you're going to want to check your motherboard, or if you are using this one, you can just follow along. But in my case, we're going to be using DIMM slot A2 and B2 as our starting slots. Most motherboards will tell you right here on the side. They'll be right here, and in this case, we have these two little asterisks right here telling us which slots to use first. Okay, so we're just going to pull down these two tabs. This board actually doesn't have any tabs down on this side, so you just leave those up, don't have to touch them. Next up is our SSD. Get our standoff installed so that we can install the SSD. Alright, just going to plug that right in there. Push this down.
Okay, so my little hat mic died, so I'm using my headset to record a voiceover. Hopefully this audio doesn't suck. But right now I'm just going to be installing the CPU fan, and going to be removing these two black brackets up here. I'm just going to speed through this real quick, just because it's me loosening these bolts, or screws. Alright, so right here, don't follow this because I stupidly end up taking off the back plate because I thought I was going to be messing around with like some push-in thumb screw type things. But no, the Wraith coolers end up actually having just normal Phillips screws. So yeah, don't do this part. I'm going to skip ahead to the part where I have this fixed and I'm actually putting the fan on. And I'm actually pointing out right here where you're supposed to plug your 4-pin fan header in. So that'll be where you actually plug the fan in. And I'm going to do that right here. If I can figure out the cord. Doing this is in post, so this is fun. Alright, so yep, we got that plugged in, and now I'm going to screw around with this real quick, and we will actually have the fan on, finally. Okay, so when you're actually screwing in the fan, make sure you're going like corner to corner, as you see here. That way you're not stressing too much like pressure on any of the bolts. You don't want to like crack your board or anything, or thread one of these screws, because that's really going to suck trying to get this fan off after the fact. Alright, so I'm going to skip ahead and have this fan completely screwed in. And then you can just try to tuck in this cable right here. Try to get it like tucked in behind the fan. As long as you don't have it under the actual cooler, you're fine. But yeah, so we are actually done getting the motherboard set up. And now we can actually move on to the case setup, which is the fun part with all the cables. Alright, let's do it. Alrighty, motherboard's done. We can move on to putting everything into our case. We're going to be starting with the power supply, but real quick, this is the Antec NX200M. It does have a glass, like tempered glass door. Comes with a little handle. It's very nice. Comes with one 120 millimeter fan pre-installed. I am going to be adding two more for intake. But yeah, very nice case for around 50 bucks. But anyway, let's get into getting our power supply in. Okay, to start, we're going to be taking our back panel off, so we have to remove these two thumb screws down here. Put your screws to the side, make sure you don't lose them. And then we're going to be removing the back panel. Just going to pull up and out for this case. And there we go. Okay, so the back panel is off, and we are actually going to move these cables out of the way. These are going to be for all of your front panel connectors. So you got these. Oh my god, if I can catch this. So these are going to be like your power button, reset button, just all the lights for the buttons themselves, USB 3.0, and then your other USBs and your audio plugins. So we're just going to push these to the side real quick, and then we're going to move into getting our power supply. Okay, so we got to get your power supply, and getting this installed is actually fairly simple. We're just going to be sliding it in fan side down because we want the airflow to be being pulled up through the case. If you have it up this way, you'll be drawing all of your air from inside of the case, and it'll just be messing up with your airflow and your temperature. You might have some overheating issues. So yeah, just make sure you have your fan facing down towards your little grate right here. And I actually did go in there and I removed the docking for the hard drive. We're not using a hard drive in this build, and it'll just give us more space for cable management. So yeah, I'm going to get our power supply in, and then I'll show you how to screw it in on the other side. Okay, so I have the power supply slid in, and we are actually going to be using the 4 little screws that the power supply came with. Make sure you're using the screws that came with it. Don't use any others. But yeah, we're going to be screwing them into hole 1, hole 2, hole 3, and hole 4. And like I said before, when you're screwing things in, make sure you just go corner to corner. Just helps out with not threading the screws. All right, I'm going to do that real quick, and then we'll move on to the next step.
Okay, so we have the power supply all screwed in. It should be nice and tight, shouldn't be going anywhere. Don't over tighten your screws though, just want to have them tight enough to be holding the power supply to the case. But yeah, so we're going to move on to the next step. I'm actually going to be getting the motherboard in first. Normally I would do the plugs and everything, but I think it'll just be easier to get the motherboard in first, and then we can slip all of our cables through the case. But all right, so I'm going to be tucking all of these cables you see here in the back, and then I'm going to be flipping this over and getting the motherboard installed. All right, let's get into it. All right, guys, first things first, before we get our motherboard installed, you want to make sure that you get your I/O shield in there. You don't want to get yourself into a predicament where you have to take your motherboard out after realizing that you forgot to install this, especially if you have all of your cables already plugged in and everything. It's going to be a real pain in the ass. So just make sure you get this installed. It goes in this way, and you will feel it just click into place. Pretty simple. So I'm going to get that done real quick, and then we can move on to getting our motherboard installed. Okay, and just like that, our I/O shield is in and ready to go. And this will actually make it a lot easier too, lining the motherboard up. So all right, I'm gonna flip this back up to the top load, and we will get our motherboard installed. All right, so the next step is actually getting our motherboard installed. You will see these standoffs on here. The case itself only came with these ones down here installed, so I did have to go ahead and add two more. I'm assuming they intend to use an ITX board, but we are using a micro ATX, so we will be requiring these two extra standoffs. All right, so I'm going to get the motherboard in real quick, and then we will get those all screwed in. All right, so we're going to be getting our motherboard in. Be gentle while you do this, and like I said, you want to just line it up with your I/O shield in there, and you will also kind of see the screw holes through the holes on the board. So, yep, let's just get this in here. Watch out for these cables. You might have to push them out of the way a little bit. Okay. All right, so now that we have our motherboard in there, we're going to be using all of the screws that came along with our case. It is going to be these very small looking ones right here. You should have a whole bunch of them, probably more than you need, but yeah, don't lose them. All right, so let's go ahead and get this motherboard screwed in, and we can start running our cables through. Okay, so we're going to screw in the motherboard, and in total we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. We have 8 total screws that we need to get in there. Make sure you have them all screwed in because you don't want your motherboard short-circuiting by contacting some other metal or just getting messed up in some way. So yeah, gonna go ahead and get those all screwed in real quick. Okay, so we have all of our screws in. Our motherboard should be nicely fastened in. We can actually go ahead and, if you have a case fan on here, if you're not using this case, but we're going to go ahead and get ours plugged in to this fan header right here. So I'm going to get that done real quick. I'm going to flip this up, and we will start routing cables through into our motherboard. All right, real quick before I route any cables through, if you are following along, I do suggest adding some more case fans to this case. It does only come with the 120 millimeter exhaust fan, which is fine and dandy, but it's really going to get hot in there if we don't have any cool air coming in. So I am going to go ahead and install 2 NZXT fans that I actually pulled off my other build. I wasn't using them, so they will serve their purpose in this build right here. So I'm going to go ahead and get these installed real quick, and then we will move on to getting the cables routed through. Okay, so we're on the back side again, and real quick, we're just going to get some of our major cables routed through, like our motherboard, CPU, GPU, and then any of the front panel connectors. So all right, I'm going to start routing those through, and then we'll get everything plugged into the motherboard. All right, first, so we're going to get our 24-pin power connector for our motherboard routed through, and I like to just put it as close as possible to the actual motherboard. And in this case, we're going to go right through this hole right here. Just hang that out right there. Next up, we are going to find our CPU, and you're going to get that routed up through this hole right here. And then the GPU, we will actually slide underneath and go through the bottom hole in the case right under here. So I'm going to go ahead and get that done real quick, and then we'll move on to the next step. Okay, we're also going to go ahead and get all of our front panel connectors plugged in. So our USB 3.0 is going to go right down here. Our front panel connectors are going to go right underneath. Going to go right underneath and go up where we put the GPU cable through. And then as for the audio and the USBs, we are going to go right underneath the case right here, right on top of the power supply, and go right up through the other hole on the other side. And you know what, looking at that now, I think I'm going to actually make sure we go this way so cable management isn't a pain in the ass. Okay, so we have all of our major cables routed through, so I'm going to go flip this around and we will get everything plugged in. Okay, so we're on the front side again, and I'm going to go ahead and start getting all of our cables plugged in. Starting with our motherboard, we are going to plug that one in right here. Might have to finagle it a little bit. That'll just plug in right like that, and that'll clip in. Make sure you're plugging these in all of the way. Should be nice and flush with the actual plug-in. Yep, there we go, we are good. And I'm actually just now noticing our USB 3.0 is actually right here on the bottom, so I'm going to route this through in a different angle. Okay, and then this one will plug in right here. You'll know which one it actually plugs into because the pins actually have this kind of housing right here. So, yep, going to go ahead and plug that in. There we go. All right, up next, we're going to do the audio and the USB cables. So your audio is going to go on this far left plug-in right here. You will know by your pins actually having a missing spot. You kind of just want to line that up with the same way that it is in the pins on the board. All right, and then your USB one is going to be plugging in over here next to your USB 3.0. You can do either one of these pin headers right here. All right, and finally, the one that we have to get plugged in next will be our CPU. It's actually right there next to our VRAM. It is this plug-in right here. Okay, and once again, you just want to make sure that this is completely plugged in. Should be nice and flush with the header. Okay, that is it. Oh, actually, I almost forgot. So our next one is going to be, or our last one, at least for now, until we can get our GPU in, is going to be our front panel connectors. This one can be a bit of the pain in the ass. If you're not following this guide and using a different case, different board, make sure you're looking at your manual because they're all different. Yeah, so I'm going to go ahead and I will show you how to get these in. Okay, so I'm going to be installing the front panel connectors. Again, if you're not following along with this guide and not using this case, make sure you look at your manual because, again, these are going to be all different. But if you are using this case, you can just follow along. I'm going to be plugging these in and I will show you which pins they actually connect to. All right, so our first one is going to be our, I don't know if you can see that, but that is our, of course you're not going to be able to see it. Come on, focus. All right, so that is our power LED positive, and that is going to go on our first pin on the top. And then the one next to it will be our power LED negative, which is right here. Again, I don't think that's going to focus because my big ass hands are in the way. But yeah, so power LED positive on the left and power LED negative on the right, on your first two pins on the top right here on this connector. Yeah, right down here. Okay, so I'm gonna get those plugged in real quick. Okay, so next up we will get our LED plugins in, and those are going to be, that's going to be this cable right here. It'll say HDD LED positive and negative. And the positive side, once again, will follow suit and will go on the left side, and the negative will go on the right side. By the way, I don't know if you noticed, but these are going to be plugging in upside down. It's kind of weird, but that's how it goes. All right, so you're going to get this one in real quick. All right, and the last two are going to be our reset switch and our power switch. These two right here, and they are going to be reset on the bottom and the power switch on the top, respectively. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and get those in real quick. Okay, so I have all of the front panel connectors plugged in. I will try to actually pop up like a little graphic somewhere, like right here, maybe. I'm going to try. I'm not too great at editing, but I'm going to try to get a little graphic up there so you can actually match those up, because I know it is kind of hard to see. But yeah, so we are going to move to the back. I'm going to do the magic snap for the cable management, and then we are going to get our GPU in, and we are basically about to be done with the build. So yeah, I'm going to get into that, and I will move back around. Okay, I'm going to do some cable management back here because obviously this looks terrible. But quick side note, which is a bit unfortunate, this board actually only has two 4-pin fan headers for case fans. So I did have to uninstall one of those fans I put in, which kind of stinks. It's only going to have one intake and one exhaust, which is okay. We're going to have pretty normal airflow, but it would have been better and would have had some positive airflow with two case fans. So a little bit unfortunate, but should be okay. But all right, I'm going to do our magic snap and take care of all of these crazy cables. So here we go. Okay, not to toot my own horn, but this is probably some of the best cable management I've ever done. Looks really clean, actually. I'm super happy with it. But all right, we are done back here. I'm going to get the back panel on and flip it around, and we are in the home stretch now. We just have to get our GPU installed, and then we can do a test boot. So I'm going to get that done real quick, and we can move on to the best part. Alrighty, guys. So this is going to be the last part, and that's going to be getting our GPU in. There's a couple things that we have to do first, which is actually going to be removing a couple of these PCIe slot covers right here. These do bend off. They aren't like removable with screws. So be careful when you take these off, because once you take these off, there will just be a pretty, not sharp, but a fine edge of metal right here. So if you're not careful, you could cut yourself. So just be careful when you remove these. So I'm going to get those out real quick, and then we will install our GPU. Alright, so I got those off. They are right here. And you do have to take off the top two because we are inserting a 1650, which takes up 2 slots. And it's actually pretty cool because I was looking, and the case actually comes with replaceable slot covers, which is pretty cool. So after the fact, when you're done with the case or you're switching out GPUs or whatever you might be doing, you can fill in those spots again. Alright, so I'm going to get the GPU ready, and we're going to get that installed. Okay, so this is my second favorite part of building a PC. I will show you what my favorite part is when we get to the end. But all right, I'm gonna go ahead and install this. You do want to make sure that you remove this cover because that will reveal the actual plugin. And this is just here so these don't get scratched. But yeah, so we're gonna remove that and then we're gonna line it up on our PCIe slot right here. And this little bracket was just clicked out, but we're going to push this in and that will basically unlock the slot. And all we're going to do is shove that in and you'll just match up the pins. So you'll have a kind of square one right here, which will fit in right here. And then your longer plug-in right here will plug in to this slot right here. So I'm going to go ahead and get that plugged in and we will be all done with the build and we can do our first test boot. I'm just now realizing there actually is a PCIe slot lock right here. So we're actually going to have to go on the other side and unscrew that, loosen it up a little bit, and then we can get the card in. Okay, so the lock is off now, and that came off the back, and it was in there with this little screw right here. Make sure you don't lose this. All right, so now I'm going to officially plug the card in. All right, and that little clip should lock into place. And then what we're going to do is we're going to take a couple of the screws that came with our case, and we're going to screw them into the slot covers right here where we removed those two. All right, so we've got that screwed in, and we're going to actually reinstall that lock cover that we pulled up. All right, so now that we've got everything screwed in, we're going to plug in our 6-pin PCIe connector, and then we will boot this on for the first time and see if we can get into BIOS. Make sure your AC cord is plugged in and connected to power. And you also want to make sure you're actually turning on your power supply switch. I have no idea how many times I've done this where I go to turn the PC on and I have not hit the switch. So you want to hit this on, and now we can go up to the power button. Alrighty guys, so this is the moment of truth. This really tests your metal, make sure you've gotten everything done and you've actually done everything right. So we are connected to this monitor right here through HDMI, and this will be our first test boot. Really hoping everything works because it's getting kind of late and I don't really want to get back in there and do anything else. But I am going to hit this power button for the first time and let's see if it turns on and we get to post and get into our BIOS. All right, let's try that real quick. Once again, we're going to go over here. First off, make sure your HDMI cord is plugged into your graphics card, not your motherboard. You will not get into post if you plug it into your motherboard because we do not have any onboard graphics. So yeah, make sure this is plugged into your graphics card. So with that plugged in, we double check, make sure our power supply is switched on. You can see, I don't know, maybe if you can over here, there's a couple of orange lights that just came on, so that's always a good sign. And all right, so we are going to hit the power button for the first time and see if we can get into BIOS. And there we go, guys. So we are on officially. Like I said, it might take a couple of minutes to go through its power cycles. I'm going to start hitting F2 on the keyboard so that we can get into the BIOS, and there we go. So we are in. When you see this for the first time, this is basically just saying that, hey, we're detecting a new CPU, a new setup, and so you have to basically go into your BIOS and check everything off and make sure everything's good to go. So I am actually going to press F1 just to get into there and make sure everything's nice. Okay, so as you can see, we have officially posted. We are in BIOS. It is detecting our storage drive, so when we do get in here and install Windows, that is good to go, which I do have. It's actually plugged into my test board over here, but I have Windows 11 ready to go on this USB. But as for the build, we are officially done. I'm going to get the front panel on, and then I'm going to get into getting this all really hooked up and ready to go so we can do our benchmarks and play some games. But all right, thanks for watching up to this point, and let's move on to our next step. Alrighty, guys. Thank you so much for watching up until this point. This was a super fun build. I haven't messed with older components before, so I really enjoyed working with the 1650 and the 4100. I did go ahead and I got Windows installed, played a few games, and we ran our benchmark tests, which I'm going to throw those up there in a second. But I did save my favorite part for last, which is peeling the film off of the front glass panel. It's just amazing. I think everyone on the planet can agree that's like the best thing to do with any electronic, let alone on a PC that you just built. So I am going to go ahead, peel that off real quick, and then we're going to hop into the games and the benchmarks, and then I will see you at the end of the video. All right, let's get into it. Just amazing. All right, let's get into it.
Effective fire!
Enemy in the air!
I'm reloading. Changing mag.
Only a Sith deals in absolutes. I will do what I must.
You will try.
That must be a no, but how could we possibly help a Jedi in the middle of a battle?
We need you strong. Okay. Come on, let's go.
Ain't sure what we're gonna find out here, Dutch.
We have to try. Stay close. We'll do our best to stick to the trail.
This goddamn weather.
Been 2 days or more like this now. Oh, it has to blow over soon.
Alrighty guys, so we have officially hit the end of our video. The build came out pretty fantastic, if I do say so myself. For $500, it's a super solid option for 1080p gaming, especially if you're on a budget. Yeah, for what it is, as you saw in the benchmarks, got some pretty good scores for being a 1650 and a 4100. Everything's super compatible. This is upgradable. It has an AM4 socket, so you're going to have a whole bunch of options for CPUs in the AMD category. And you'll obviously be able to upgrade your GPU. You might have to get a upgraded power supply if you do so, though. So keep that in mind. But yeah, I'm super happy with the way it came out. I really appreciate you guys watching. I hope you enjoyed the video. I hope it helped out if you were building this PC or following along building your own at home. That's kind of what my hope is here, so I can help you guys build PCs and kind of do the same thing I did. I started out my PC stuff watching Linus Tech Tips, and I basically watched one of their build videos over and over and over again until I figured it out and eventually built my first PC, which was not amazing, but it did what it needed to do, and I was happy with it. And I kind of wanted to just get into this space and do the same thing for you guys, so I really hope I can do that. Other than that, though, I kind of wanted to get my idea out for what I have in store for this channel and just kind of moving forward with my career aspirations. My plan is to eventually have some type of PC repair shop, kind of in like my local town or whatever might happen, whether I'm shipping out things, getting things shipped in to do repairs. That's kind of my plan. I would like to do something like that. So if you want to support me in my journey of eventually being an entrepreneur with PC selling, stuff like that, definitely hit that subscribe button, like, and hit that bell so you don't miss any videos. With that being said, every PC that I build on this channel, at least for the budget ones, or at least for now, they will all be for sale. I haven't quite figured out the logistics of doing so yet, but I am in Massachusetts. So if you are somewhat local to me and we're kind of like a drives away, we can figure something out. So if you are interested, hit me up on Instagram. I will have my name down in the description, so just check that out if you are interested. I'm going to keep building PCs, and I'm just going to have them sitting around. So again, seriously, if you are interested in buying one, let me know. Until then, though, this will be the end of the episode for the new build series that I'm doing. And I really hope you guys enjoyed it. And if you're still here and you've watched the whole video, I truly appreciate you. Thank you so much. But yeah, that'll do it for this one. And I truly hope you guys enjoyed it. And I will see you on the next episode. Peace.